This is a very important day, and I'm very glad to be standing here before you. But before I talk about why we're here, I want to introduce myself. I'm Margaret Leachman. I'm currently acting as the United States Attorney. And with me here are Craig Larrabee, the Special Agent in charge of the San Antonio Division of the Homeland Security Investigations Office. Next to him is Matthew Gagliotti. He is serving as the head of the Criminal Division at the Department of Justice. And with him is Ian Hanna, who is the co-director of Joint Task Force Alpha. You all have heard a lot about Joint Task Force Alpha over the last few months. And Eric Fuchs and Sarah Spears, prosecutors in our office who have been handling this case that brings us together since 2022, when this horrendous event happened. And with them, and I'll ask Special Agent in charge Larrabee to introduce them, are his investigators. And Joseph Cantu is also with the United States Attorney's Office and is part of the trial preparation and trial team. We're here to announce that the jury, as you likely know, returned a guilty verdict in the case of United States versus Felipe Orduña Torres and Armando Gonzalez Ortega. They were found guilty for their roles in the human smuggling conspiracy. The actions of this conspiratorial group led to the deaths of 53 individuals from Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico on June 27th of 2022. 47 adults, including a pregnant mother, and 6 children were killed, and 11 more, that was adults and children, were injured as a direct result of the inhumane conditions in which they were placed. They were in the back of a tractor trailer being transported from Laredo, Texas to San Antonio, Texas during the hot summer months in that 3-hour ride. After these individuals had traveled, some from South America, some from Central America, and made it successfully into the United States, were then placed in horrific conditions for the last few hours of their trek. The evidence revealed that Orduña and Gonzalez were a lead organizer and the right-hand man of this lead organizer for this human smuggling organization that operated for a substantial period of time, transporting numerous aliens to the United States and into the United States since at least 2020. These individuals worked together and with others both in the United States, in Guatemala, in Mexico, and in Honduras to illegally smuggle adults and children. I want to make sure that our law enforcement partners in this, that handled this case, that investigated it so thoroughly, have received credit, that we thank them for the work that they did. And leading that effort was Homeland Security Investigations, but also assisting and working with Homeland Security Investigations on this case was the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the San Antonio Police Department, and the Bexar County Sheriff's Department. I want to thank all of these law enforcement organizations for their hard work and support. And I also want to thank the Department of Justice's Criminal Division and Joint Task Force Alpha for their incredible support and work on this case as well. And I want to thank our prosecutors, the prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office here in San Antonio, for their dedication to this case, for bringing justice in this case, and for the team of local investigators and investigators in other locations throughout both internationally and in the United States, who work together to make this case something that could be successfully prosecuted. Their efforts, both nationally, locally, and internationally, work together to dismantle and disrupt what we know is a prolific smuggling organization. As you know, the images that we depict here show the conditions inside the trailer that transported these at least 66 migrants, including 8 children and a pregnant woman, on this 3-hour drive. The air conditioning in the trailer did not work. The evidence showed that these defendants knew that the air conditioner did not work and nevertheless disregarded the danger that posed to their human cargo. This human cargo that had trusted them by entering that truck trailer for the last part of their journey. The smugglers covered these people with a chemical seasoning that burned and irritated their skins, and all it served was to mask their scent while they went through the Border Patrol checkpoint. Then, within only 3 hours, we had the devastation that was found in Bexar County in June of last year. 8 individuals have been charged in the United States for their role in these horrific events. Others have been charged in Mexico and Guatemala as a result of the combined efforts of HSI, United States Attorney's Office, and JTFA. Of those charged in the United States, 6 have now been convicted. 1 remains a fugitive, and the last has now been successfully extradited to the United States to face charges here. But the investigation is by no means concluded. The team remains focused on pursuing individuals and criminal networks responsible not only for this tragedy, but for their participation in human smuggling that invariably endangers those they pretend to be helping. Now, it is my privilege to turn the microphone over to Matthew Galeotti. As I said, he's the head of the criminal division at the Department of Justice, and it is the criminal division that supports Joint Task Force Alpha and the combined efforts of the Department of Justice to go after human smugglers.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Leachman. Thank you, Special Agent in Charge, Larrabee, and thank you to everyone for being here. My name is Matthew Galeotti, and I'm the acting head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Today is a momentous day in the department's relentless fight against the leaders, organizers, and key facilitators of human smuggling networks. Thanks to the work of our partners in the Western District of Texas and at ICE HSI, and in particular, the Assistant United States Attorneys that prosecuted this case, AUSA Fuchs and AUSA Spears, along with their case agents. As Attorney General Pamela Bondi has announced, the department is committed to the total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations. To help meet this goal, the department is laser focused on dismantling human smuggling networks. Working with our U.S. attorneys' offices and law enforcement partners, the criminal division is on the front lines of that fight. You have already heard from U.S. Attorney Leachman on the extraordinary work in this case, but let me take a moment to recognize the victims and the extraordinary efforts of the prosecution team that bring us all here today. As you heard, in June 2022, 64 immigrants from Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico were loaded into a tractor trailer without functioning air conditioning by members of an alien smuggling organization for a 3-hour drive from Laredo to San Antonio, ultimately leading to the deaths of 53 or as the judge said, 54, because one of these women was pregnant, deaths. 11 others were hospitalized. Today, 2 of the people responsible, Felipe Orduña Torres and Armando Gonzalez Ortega, were held accountable for this tragedy by a United States jury in a United States federal courtroom. In total, 8 members of this alien smuggling organization have now been convicted for roles related to this and similar events. This investigation and prosecution are the direct result of the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Texas and the dedicated special agents of Homeland Security investigations in close coordination with Joint Task Force Alpha and the Criminal Division. A few words on Joint Task Force Alpha. The crimes committed and the tragedy caused by this pernicious alien smuggling organization epitomize why the Attorney General is elevating Joint Task Force Alpha to be run directly out of her office. The goal is to eliminate the scourge of human smuggling. Joint Task Force Alpha's mission is to target and prosecute the leaders and organizers of transnational criminal organizations engaged in human smuggling and human trafficking throughout the Americas. Since its creation, Joint Task Force Alpha has tirelessly pursued significant smuggling indictments and extradition efforts across the country. In just the past 7 weeks, the department has charged more than 760 defendants involved in human smuggling. And we're not done yet, not even by a long shot. In fact, we are continuing to prosecute those responsible for this mass casualty smuggling event and others like it. You can never forget the 54 victims in this case. Similarly, just yesterday, Rigoberto Miranda Orozco made his first court appearance here in the Western District of Texas after his extradition from Guatemala. His detention hearing is on Thursday here. This Joint Task Force Alpha case will be prosecuted by trial attorneys from the Criminal Division's Human Rights and Special Prosecution Section and assistant United States attorneys from the Western District of Texas. Miranda Orozco was indicted and has been charged for allegedly conspiring with other smugglers to facilitate the travel of 4 aliens from Guatemala through Mexico and ultimately to the United States. He allegedly charged the aliens or their families and friends approximately $12,000 to $15,000 for the journey. The indictment alleges that 3 of these aliens passed away in the trailer in June 2022, and the 4th suffered serious bodily injury. For his actions, Miranda Orozco is charged with 6 counts related to migrant smuggling resulting in death or serious bodily injury, and he faces a maximum prison sentence of life. This extradition sends the message that the Department of Justice will pursue human smugglers who violate U.S. laws no matter where they are. I want to express my deep appreciation to our key law enforcement partners who built this investigation: HSI San Antonio and the HSI Human Smuggling Unit in Washington, D.C., along with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection's National Targeting Center, U.S. Border Patrol, ATF, the San Antonio Police Department, and the Palestine Police Department. I would also like to thank our Criminal Division attorneys from the Office of International Affairs and resident legal advisors from the Office of Overseas Prosecutorial Development, Assistance, and Training, also known as OPDAT. They provided significant assistance in coordinating our foreign law enforcement efforts. I also want to thank our foreign law enforcement partners, especially Guatemalan law enforcement, for their assistance with this investigation. Before I close, I want to refocus on why human smuggling prosecutions matter and why the department is vigorously prosecuting human smugglers to the full extent of the law. And indeed, the Department of Justice is working with members of Congress to advance a proposal to increase the sentencing guidelines in such cases to make sure that the conduct is accurately reflected in the sentences that these individuals face. People elsewhere outside of Texas may not be familiar with the prevalence and seriousness of human smuggling cases. This case exemplifies why we all must pay attention. Human smuggling is dehumanizing, it's dangerous, and it can be deadly. Smuggling victims are often subject to rape, kidnapping, extortion, exploitation, and more. It will not stand. Our resolve in tackling these crimes will not waver. Joint Task Force Alpha, along with our partners, will continue to pursue the leaders and organizers of human smuggling and trafficking networks wherever they operate, with an enhanced focus on alien smuggling and trafficking by cartels and transnational organizations. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear from Special Agent in Charge Larrabee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Craig Larrabee. I am the Special Agent in Charge with ICE's Homeland Security Investigations here in San Antonio, Texas. Today's verdict is the result of the scope and depth of law enforcement's efforts to aggressively pursue this callous human smuggling network. From country of origin to final destination, we have worked tirelessly to track down the criminals and dismantle their entire network. This prolific and tragic event unfortunately serves as reminders of the dangers of human smuggling. These arrangements with criminal organizations are extremely dangerous agreements. Agreements in this case that ended with many deaths. As we gather today to close the chapter in this tragic case, we also do it with respect for the 53 people who lost their lives. Their journey led them through dangerous routes through Central America, Mexico, and the United States. The daily dangers of human smugglers subject migrants to is illustrated throughout this trial. The disregard for human life just shows how human smugglers prioritize over everything else money and profit. The greed of these men ultimately led to their convictions, and one by one we are seeing the consequences of human smuggling as the justice system prevails. Locally, nationally, and abroad, the law enforcement response has been resolute and our message is clear. No matter where human smugglers operate or how far they think they can hide, the reach of the United States is vast, and we'll work across the globe to ensure human smugglers are held accountable. I want to thank the San Antonio Police, fire departments, and other public safety personnel who responded to this tragic event. I'd also like to thank the doctors, nurses, and medical personnel who rendered care to all the victims. We are deeply grateful for their bravery and dedication, and we honor their commitment to saving lives in the face of such a devastating situation. I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners, particularly the United States Border Patrol, the FBI, ATF. I'd like to really thank our prosecutors from the Western District of Texas. I can say I'm very proud of the HSI special agents and analysts that worked this case. Particular note, Group Supervisor Joseph Tiarina and Special Agent Nestor Canales. Their efforts over the past several years have been unbelievable. They've put in hours that you wouldn't believe. They've worked weekends, nights, to make sure that we had this result. And I couldn't be any proud of working with all of them and having them be my colleagues. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your time.
Muy buenas tardes, Ian Hanna, codirector de la Fuerza de Tarea Conjunta Alpha, JTFA por sus siglas en inglés. De antemano, quiero agradecer a la doctora Margaret Leachman, la fiscal federal de este distrito, por la invitación para participar en esta red de conferencia y también tomar un minuto para felicitar al doctor Fuchs y la doctora Spears y tomar toda la cantidad de evidencia que existía en este caso y destillirla para presentarla de una manera que fluye y que se puede entender. No es fácil y se debe de reconocer. Los crímenes cometidos y la tragedia causada en el caso personifican el porqué, la razón por la cual que la fiscal general de la República, Pamela Bondi, está elevando y ampliando la misión de la Fuerza de Tarea Conjunta Alpha. Nuestra misión es perseguir y enjuiciar a los líderes y organizadores de las redes criminales transnacionales dedicadas al contrabando y la trata de personas en todo el continente americano. La extradición de Rigoberto Miranda Orozco desde Guatemala es un ejemplo de esa misión en acción. Les recuerdo que Miranda Orozco está acusado en este distrito en relación con los hechos de este caso. Miranda Orozco presuntamente conspiró con otras contrabandistas para facilitar el viaje de 4 migrantes desde Guatemala a través de México y, en última instancia, a los Estados Unidos. Supuestamente les cobró a los migrantes o a sus familiares o sus amigos aproximadamente desde $10,000 a $15,000 al viaje. La acusación formal alega que 3 de estos migrantes perecieron en el tracto camión en junio de 2022 y el cuarto sufrió lesiones corporales graves. Miranda Orozco está acusado de 6 cargos relacionados con el tráfico de migrantes que resultó en la muerte o lesiones corporales graves y se enfrenta a una pena máxima de cadena perpetua. Esta extradición envía el mensaje de que el Departamento de Justicia perseguirá a los traficantes de personas donde quiera que están. Quiero agradecer otra vez a nuestros socios aquí en la Oficina del Fiscal Federal del Distrito Occidental de Texas y a todas las agencias investigativas por su arduo trabajo para llevar este caso a juicio. También quiero agradecer a nuestros socios extranjeros encargados de hacer cumplir la ley, especialmente a los guatemaltecos, por su asistencia en esta investigación y extradición. Lo que sucedió dentro de la caja de ese tracto camión aquí en San Antonio en junio de 2022 constituyó un cruel desprecio por la vida humana. Era cruel. Crueldad en aras de la ganancia. Ese tipo de crueldad no quedará sin respuesta. Con ese fin, JTFA continuará persiguiendo a los líderes y organizadores de redes de contrabando y trata de personas en todo el hemisferio occidental. Nuestro mensaje es simple. Si usted se dedica al contrabando de seres humanos y si usted piensa que está a salvo porque se encuentra afuera del territorio nacional de Estados Unidos, usted está equivocado. Si su crimen toca a los Estados Unidos, nosotros lo vamos a tocar a usted. Gracias.
Sure. Hi, I'm Eric Fuchsen, Assistant United States Attorney with the Western District of Texas here. In Government's Exhibit 135, the closest photo to us, that's the inside of the trailer after all the migrants had been unloaded. You can see the remnants of their clothing, a couple scattered water bottles still left. And then in the far outside exhibit on the outside, that's just one close-up photo of the many claw marks that were found in the trailer, claw marks from when they were desperately clawing at the sides, trying to get out. You could see that insulation, the scraps of it, and how it's fresh right below the claw marks. You could see that all over the trailer. I was not.
I can't speak directly to Border Patrol operations or like that, but I can tell you that the investigation is not completed. We're going to continue to investigate all the opportunities, all of those. After this event, and a lot of the, if you've been an HSI agent or Border Patrol agent along the southwest border for any period of time, you've seen these events before. So at the end of this, the day after, after all these agents were in the back of that tractor trailer overnight dealing with that tragedy, we made a promise to each other and to victims that we're going to continue this investigation. We're going to investigate all aspects of it. That's why you've seen such a robust investigation. And I can tell you that it's not over, and we'll continue to look into all those situations, including other trailer loads. Yes. Yeah. Can you speak to that?
As you heard during the trial, that Weto was an individual we identified during trial as a co-leader of this organization with Felipe Ordino Torres. I can only speak what's on the public record, but as Special Agent in Charge Larrabee said, we're not stopping our efforts on this case. There are other indictments, there are other sealed things that we just can't go into at this point.
I'm sorry, that this person, Weto, is not in custody.
He is not in custody.
Has he been charged? I mean, there's an indictment for him, or?
I can't speak to things that are under seal. I can just tell you he's not in custody and his whereabouts are currently unknown. Yes, that was Rigoberto Miranda Orozco. He was extradited from Guatemala on Friday. He made his initial appearance in San Antonio court here yesterday. He'll have his first detention hearing this coming Thursday. And yes, he was a recruiter down in Guatemala, responsible for the direct original recruitment of 4 Guatemalans, 3 of which who ended up deceased in the back of the 27th tractor trailer.
Can we say that this organization is either mainly a Mexican organization or U.S.-based organization? What would be the description of this organization?
As the evidence pointed out during the trial, this is a vast network of people from multiple countries combining their efforts, using their overlapping resources to move people up through Mexico, across the border, and then working in concert with other smugglers in the United States, like those who are on trial here, to ultimately move them to their final destination.
So this could be just political people, the iceberg.
Well, Mr. Ordino Torres was the leader in the United States for this organization that went to trial today, and that was found guilty by a jury. He was the pinnacle of that organization in the United States. Obviously, he worked with many, many others. We heard about that during the trial, both in the United States and south of the border.
Alcohol, 2 more questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Fuchs or whoever is appropriate. The 11 survivors, what's the status? And then they get visas or are they still in the country? What was the action taken by them?
Yeah, currently all 11 are still in the country. They were granted, I want to make sure I'm getting the correct technical terms, but permitted to apply for U visas. So they're currently here legally awaiting that immigration process on those U visas. Are you talking about the cooperating witnesses? So yeah, Judge Garcia has reset all of these sentencings for everybody involved in this case other than the 2 who were convicted today for December. They all face a maximum life imprisonment. We don't know what their sentences will be at this time. Obviously, a pre-sentence report will be prepared. We'll evaluate their roles in this very serious smuggling effort before we reach the appropriate sentence. Yeah, so there was a couple different indictments supporting this, and so I think that there have been 7 people that have pled guilty or been found guilty by a jury so far. I think there were 6 under the indictment that Mr. Ordino Torres and Mr. Gonzalez Ortega were convicted under, and then one of the cooperators, Juan de Luna Bilbao, pled separately under separate indictment.